So we are kind of on this stair step of gradually increasing light, and light is consciousness. But there will be the biggie, the big one, the one they say, the major kahuna, the one the angels called it, the moment we will look back on and say, that is the moment that everything changed. So it will be that significant that around the entire globe, everyone will say that is the moment that everything changed. And there will be some people that choose to stay in a 3D construct. And that is absolutely okay. There is no judgment in that. And it will be, if that's the case, it will be because they feel like their soul can grow more in a karmic construct, that they'll feel like they have more progress that can be made if they stay in a reality that has karma. And this is going to be a big part about how we create in the new reality. The structure of this reality has been about understanding ourselves in separation. We've been in the process of understanding us as opposed to other things. Where do I end and where does something else begin? And creating increasing separation in the process of trying to understand ourselves. In the new reality, we are understanding ourselves as manifestors, as creators, in connection with all things and the earth. So some souls will choose that because it will help them grow, but then others will choose to move through the doorway and experience a brand new reality.
My guest today is Ann Tucker. Ann is a healer and a trance channel for the healing wisdom of the Angel Collective, Mother of Creation, and Yeshua. We look forward to talking with her today. So welcome, Ann. It's so nice to have you join us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you.
I am as well. And as we were just talking about before we started recording, I have so many things I want to talk with you about. I'm going to have to condense my list. Otherwise, we would be here all day long. And I always hate to ask this because I know you've repeated yourself so many times, but I would love, just for the audience, in case there's that one person that hasn't heard your story yet, would you mind sharing with us just a little bit of your background as far as how you got into doing this work that you're doing as a channel on this new spiritual path that you are on now? Because I know you came from a corporate background, so I relate to you from that perspective as well. But I would love if you could maybe share a little bit about that background for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was in the very first part of up until I had my big awakening, which wasn't until midlife. I was on a very conventional path, and I was married. I had kids. I was in corporate America. I started out my career at Microsoft. So then, and then later in my life, I was an executive coach working for very left brain companies like tech and med tech companies, where and all of this happened. Sort of in the midst of all that really the big awakening moment for me was a divorce, where the divorce happened. It was like kind of life blew up as that happens. I think that so many people can probably relate to that it sometimes it's a medical problem, or it's, is whatever, however it shows up, that all of a sudden something happens and pulls the rug out from underneath you. And I will tell you, I am so grateful that happened, because it took something that shook me out of all of the things I thought that I needed, that I thought were important, like the life that I had built. I had to kind of pull the rug out from underneath all of it so that I would question everything and question myself. And it started with the quest to understand, like I had a lot of negative feelings coming out of that experience, and I didn't want those feelings. And it started me on a healing journey. How do I not feel this? How do I forgive? How do I let go? All of that. And so it led me down a whole pathway of coming to some real, like, universal truths about that we create our own reality and all of these things. And as that happened, I started having psychic experiences, which was amazing, amazing and incredible. And it started with a dream. I had this dream that I was walking up in the dream, I'm at a park I've never been to, walking up towards a play structure. On my left is a partner who was not my husband at the time I was married. It was not my husband. In front of me, 2 kids who were not my children. But I knew they were like my kids because I was rushing to help them at the play structure. On my right, I see a woman with dark curly hair eating a sandwich with a bicycle leaned against a picnic table. And I think, weird dream, wake up. This is weird. What did this dream mean? 5 years later, boom, I'm divorced. I'm dating someone new. He comes over. He says, let's go to the park. His kids are with him. He's on my left. His kids are in front of me. And there's the woman with the curly hair and the sandwich and the bike.
Wow.
Exactly. Not a
Wow.
gesture of what it was. It was a picture example.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that I was like, oh my gosh, like I literally saw the future. And yeah. And then from that point
Wow.
forward, it was thing after thing after thing that just blew my mind wide open, stretched my understanding of what's possible, until I finally decided the pull was so strong that I decided I needed to do it. I really needed to explore it. So it was like a one-way ticket, but I left the consultancy. I left that work and I started working as a healer. I took about a year, explored like everything I could explore, started using what I learned to do healing. And at the time I was using all the clairs, clairvoyant, clairsentience, like feeling things, seeing things. And then the trance channeling kicked in. And I will tell you, the journey was for me, the understanding that you never sit still. The minute you think you know what you're doing, they kick you out of the nest and they go, no, this was just a step. Try the next thing. Now the next thing. So
Right.
I went into the moment. I went in to meditate one day, and all of a sudden, there was this incredible pressure. The minute I closed my eyes, this pressure, like something was sitting on me. And it was heavy enough that I could barely breathe. It was a
Oh,
physical
wow.
sensation, undeniable. And I knew something was coming. I figured they were my guides trying to come in. They used to come in through my back though. So I just didn't understand what was happening. And this went on for 6 months, where every time I sat down to meditate, boom, it would be this pressure on me. And after about 6 months of like, what is this? Finally, it occurred to me, they weren't trying to come in. My guides weren't trying to come in. They were trying to lift me up. And as soon as I had that thought, my crown chakra opened and zoop, I went up. And then I was surrounded by
Wow.
angels. I could see them all around me. And I was, of course, ecstatic and amazed, like, wow, like something happened. And what is this? And, I was so excited to start talking to them. And but they didn't say anything, and literally they just sat there and smiled at me like this, smiling and smiling. And I'm like trying everything to get them to talk, and nothing worked. I was like, can you write it on a tablet? Can you pantomime? Nothing. They just sat there and smiled, and that went on for 6 months until I finally figured out that I needed to go up, but also keep a part of myself down here, and that is how I built the connection where the trance channeling started. And so it was a journey. There was no recipe book. There was it was bumbling, the
Yeah.
whole thing. And they were waiting patiently. I had to figure it out. But yeah, that was the beginning.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I think it's always so important to hear people's spiritual journeys, because there's somebody out there right now listening to this that's in their 3D job and they're like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to go to work every single day. I can't stand this. I really want to be doing this other thing. Right. And they
Yeah.
don't have the confidence to make that leap. So I think when people hear other people's stories, it gives them, a little more of that confidence, or the little thought in the back of their head, like, oh, I could actually do this too. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, because I know you've shared
Yeah.
that many times, but I think it's just always good for people to hear that. And
Thank
so question about that, when you were going through that process, how
Yeah.
long do you think it took to go from that 3D job into a full-time healer doing this work as a channeler?
Oh gosh. I mean, my answer is not going to be the same as other people's, because we're all so
Right.
unique. And at the time that I
Yeah.
went through it, like now the energies that are coming to the planet, the general acceptance of these things is so much more.
Mhm.
Everybody
Right.
talks about energy these days, and meditation is
Yeah.
like mundane. It's like it's not even
Right.
weird anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but at the time
Exactly.
I went through it, I mean, I had that dream. The dream happened when I was still in my first marriage. And so that was really the beginning of the door starting to crack open, but I didn't actually get divorced until several years later. Like it was
Mhm.
years later. And then I went through the
Yeah.
divorce, and that was the shaking and and then it was really probably 2 years after that that I started. I mean, it was when things really started unbuckling and I started having the
Mhm.
experiences, and that's when I took a year off. And I went to like every festival or every workshop, channeling everything I could think of. So so the whole, and I would say it's hard to put a number on it, because I'm still growing. I haven't ever,
Mhm.
there's not a moment where I'm like, I made it. Like I'm
Right.
still working on myself all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever feels like they made it, right? Probably unless they actually are on the other side. But
Yeah,
here,
unless
we
you're
haven't
one with
made it. If we're
one
here, we
with
haven't made it.
source. Yeah, if you're one with
Yeah,
God, you've made it. You're done. But other than
exactly,
that, we're all human.
exactly. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm always so fascinated by hearing people's stories and how they got to what they're doing. Were you actually trying to channel when you finally did kind of open yourself up?
I was definitely trying, like, so the clairvoyant stuff, it came in very unexpectedly. Like, I always thought I was going to be psychic. There was some part of me that knew
Mhm.
it, and I do remember talking to my guides when I was a little girl, but there was a part of me that knew it, but I just didn't know how it was going to show up. And then when it did show up, it was surprising. It was like
Yeah.
one time I was on an airplane, or I had just gotten back from going to this it was like a festival. It's called A Fest. I had been at this thing for A Fest for Mind Valley. And I met a bunch of friends and I got home and I was thinking about one of my friends I'd met. And all of a sudden, boom, I was in her body looking out of her eyes. And I could see where she was. She was on an airplane. She was watching a movie. I could see the actor on the screen. I could see her look this way. And I saw the lady's shoes next to her. I mean, I was in her
Wow.
body. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Immediately I freaked out and I text her. I'm like, where are you right now? And 2 hours later, after she gets off the plane, she's, oh, I was on it. I was like, were you watching this movie? Yes. Confirmed everything. So it was like, it was an accident and it was showing. And you're like, why? I know, why did
Wow.
that happen? But it was showing me how my healing modality was going to work at that time. And the idea
Yeah.
was that when I would work on people back then, I would connect with their energy. I would move into their energy and then the angels would move through me and heal from I would be the conduit basically. So, and I would feel it as if I was
Mm.
in their body and I could feel if I was in there, I
Wow.
could feel if they had achy shoulder. It would feel like it was my shoulder. I was literally in
Mm.
there, and I could feel when the energy moved. It was very unusual, but it
Wow.
happened like that, where it'd be like I'd be just moving through my regular day, and then boom, this weird experience that would just open me up. So and so yeah. So the channeling, it was really. And this is a thing I would really encourage for everybody as your gifts are coming in or as you're trying to explore your gifts is that it is that no two people are built the same, that everyone is given something a little bit different. So you can learn a modality, so you can go, someone can teach you what they do, but the goal is to take that information and to make it your own, because we're all,
Mhm.
every person is sort of orchestrated to be able to offer something a little bit different. And so it's about being creative, about being willing to experiment and to play and to have that joyful, like, how is this going to move through
Mhm.
me? What is it going to be like? And to go in and not feel like you have to be perfect or have all the answers, to let every session be a mutual exploration where you're discovering what's possible through the interaction between you and your client. Yeah.
It's interesting because it probably would be quite unsettling. Like you were saying, it was kind of happening sporadically.
Yes.
So I'm assuming you probably need to get a little training to kind of get your arms around how to control that and make sure it's happening when you want it to, not when just randomly, if you're driving down
Yeah.
the road, you don't want to be looking through someone else's eyes.
I know, I know. Well, and I practiced it after that. And what I would do is
Mhm.
I would make appointments with people and I would say, okay, at this time, 11 o'clock tomorrow, I will see what I can, and so they would know I was, and I kind of set at the time, it was interesting. I sort of set an intention with my guides that I only wanted to do that when I had permission because it felt very
Mhm.
invasive. And what's interesting is they later told me that that was a very human concept and that we're moving towards a state of
Oh.
unity, and the concept of
Mm.
privacy in a state of unity doesn't make a lot of sense. And they're like, well, you can put that restriction on yourself if you want to, but from our perspective, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So, and which
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense when we
interesting.
go to true unified consciousness. The point is, we get to let us set aside loneliness. We get to move into a state where we really are experienced fully by one another and in that way loved by one another. Yeah.
Mhm. It's interesting because I just recently had another guest on where they were sharing about an experience that they had. They actually had an ET contact experience, but when they
Yeah.
came back from that experience, all of their clairs opened up and they were
Yeah.
walking down the street and they had telepathy taking place with all the people around them. And they said most people have very negative thinking going on.
Yeah.
Like she was catching people thinking, some people were thinking about their vacation and what they were going to do on the weekend, but most people were very negative in their thoughts. And she made a really good point that came to me afterwards. She said, if people are very negative and they have a lot of trauma, then if once we do come online with these abilities, you really have to work through that trauma ahead of time, because otherwise you're just spreading that trauma all around because everyone else is open to receiving that. So it goes back to what you were saying about the oneness.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. And I think it's not like we're moving into a state of oneness, but we also want to move into that state of oneness as we have all moved into a higher state of consciousness, right? We move into it with the understanding we've left behind our karma, and we're no longer perceiving one another through our wounding. That we have, that being in oneness becomes a safe place. So that's, I think, the difference. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I would love to talk about the angels a little bit, because
Yeah.
that's one of your specialties.
Yeah.
And, I always have a question about guardian angels, because everyone says everyone has at least one.
Yeah.
And I do talk to mine. I do ask for guidance, because I've been told that you do have to request the guidance. They don't just offer it
Yes.
to you. You have to ask for it. So, are these guardian angels? Some people think they're our loved ones. Are they actually people that we've had in our life that have passed, or could it be, really any angel that becomes the guardian angel? And what's the best way for us to communicate with them?
Oh, I love that question, because I do think there's a lot of uh, interpretations about what they are, but I can tell you my experience of what they are. And
Okay.
people do absolutely have loved ones as guides, but not as a guardian angel. A guardian angel is a very specific thing. So for sure, you might feel the loved ones who've passed are going to be around you, and they might be helping you, but they're not a guardian angel is an actual type of being. And so there's loads of angels in the world and outside of our world, loads and more angels than humans. But very few angels have actually incarnated, very small numbers compared to the percentage of the whole. So guardian angels are angels that actually physically incarnated with us when we were born, but we can't see them because they're vibrating at a higher frequency. So, but there are some people on earth who are able to see the angels that are walking around on earth that are incarnated. And there are angels here that are incarnated. And you'll hear people who actually can see angels. That's the ones they're seeing. They're not seeing the angels that are not incarnated. They're seeing the incarnated angels. And they've incarnated for a bunch of different reasons. So every single human has an incarnated angel who incarnated with them. That is literally like almost physically part of your body, that they never leave you. And they do a bunch of different things for you. They are the guardians of your spark of the divine that you carry. So it's really that idea that you are never, ever, ever at risk, that you have an angel full time who's there guarding the spark of your existence, the spark of your divinity. They are very different from humans. Angels and humans are not the same thing. Angels are the light of the divine, which is divine presence. We are the spark of the divine, which is that creative spark. So we have the ability. So angels can create things, but they don't create a world from inside of them. So they could say, I'm going to create a cup of water now, and they could do that. But they walk into a room and the room stays the same. We create a reality from literally what is inside of us. So in that sense, that's why we are the spark of the divine, that we walk into a room and the room changes. It reflects us. It becomes us. And that is how we're different. So yeah, so it is one guardian angel. You have many other angels who are also here to help you and help you in many different ways. And you can bring in extra angels for specific things, but your guardian angel will be with you for your entire journey. They never leave you.
Interesting. I remember one time I heard a story somebody shared where they were at a restaurant having a meal with other friends or family, and there was somebody that entered the restaurant with a gun and tried to actually take out the people in the restaurant, and they literally saw a giant, 9-foot angel come and like put its wings around their table, and they were the only ones that somehow escaped what was happening. And that story always stuck with me,
Wow.
because it's interesting. We don't think about the fact that we might be able to see them, that
Yes.
they actually are here with us.
Yeah.
So since we do have our own angels, what is the best way for us to communicate? Because like I said, I like to talk to them, but
Yeah.
I always wonder, does anybody even hear me when I make these requests or prayers or what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the best way to talk to them is out loud, because one of the big things they always have to observe is our free will. And so when we put things, so if you just say it in your head, they can't take action. You have to actually speak it into form. It has to become a spoken thing, and then they can take action. So that is a
Okay.
huge thing. A lot of people will make, say prayers, but quietly in their head. It's saying it out loud, much more effective. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is, what is it that you're speaking with your angels about? So there's a lot of people who will be in indecision. There's a lot of people who really struggle with, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing in this life? And they'll ask a very open-ended question of, just show me my purpose. What do you want me to do? It's that whole bumper sticker, like, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, I just take it for me. Point me in a direction. I'll do whatever you want. That's the conversation.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing about that is that if you think about, before we incarnate, before we come here, if we're on the other side, it is like, imagine you're standing around with like 6 of your very best, closest friends of all time. And you're like, okay, we're going to do an earth life. Who's going to go in? Who's going to do the life? But which of the 6 of us is going to volunteer? And you are the one that was like, I'm going in, I'm doing it. And so the rest of the team is like, great. Okay, you are the team captain. You go be in the body and we will support you. So as the team captain, you are very much like the quarterback. And the rest of the team is sitting around waiting for you to make the call. Once you make the call, they can spring into action. But until you say, we're going this way, this is the play we're going to run, they literally will stand around and wait. So there's a ton of people saying, show me what to do. Tell me what should my purpose be? And the angels are like, and your guides too are like, just tell us, just pick something and then we can help. You got to
do
pick
something.
Yeah, do
Just do
something.
it.
Do anything. And you'll figure out pretty quickly if it's the right thing or not.
Right.
Although I would put
Just
as a
put one foot
caveat
in front
to
of the
that.
other.
Yeah, just put one foot in front of the other. And if you get discouraged in the beginning, sometimes that is showing you, like, if you try something and something shows up and it seems like you're getting blocked, don't necessarily read that as like, oh, that means that this isn't right. Usually it is, no, this is the first thing that you have to clear or heal in order to pursue what it is that you want. So this is the path. The fact that you hit an obstacle, that may show you this is the path. Work on that, whatever that is that just popped up, whatever feelings just rose, work on that, and that will put you in the right direction to achieve what you want. But so in terms of speaking to your angels out loud, and it doesn't have to be the perfect thing. Just pick a thing and start in that direction, and then they can really show up for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people suffer from like paralysis by analysis. There's so many things that they want to do and they just don't know where to begin. And it's like, just take that first step and then that will lead you to the next step. But until you take the first step, you won't know what the next step is. So I think that's great advice. I would love to talk about the ascension because I know that's something the angels have given you a lot of information about.
Yeah.
And most people are very much aware these days that we are going through this great awakening process that we call the ascension, where Mama Earth and her inhabitants are all, undergoing this frequency increase. We're raising our vibration, and our consciousness is being shifted, and we are moving into the next dimension. So, or hopefully eventually a couple more dimensions up. And so we know that lately the sun has been giving off some major solar flares. And this has been going on for quite a while, and they're starting to continue to increase in magnitude lately. And even NASA, by the way, has even commented about this. They've noticed the amount of energy coming into the planet. So I would love to talk to you about what we call the flash of light, this great flash that is everyone's waiting for this. Everyone knows this is coming. We're not quite sure what to expect. So, some people are living in fear about this. Can you shed some light, no pun intended, on what that process looks like for us? I mean, what on earth is happening on Earth?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are like, as of right now, as you can see, like so much more light hitting the planet. All of it is cumulative. It all helps us. So we are already shifting in our consciousness. It's been going up. It's been going up. It's been going up. Right and you can see it in the world as we start to have more and more stuff come to the surface. The polarity we see right now, that is as a direct result of how much more light that's hitting the planet. It's forcing anything that is that's been buried, forcing it up to the surface to be witnessed, to be seen, to be healed. But there will be, so we are kind of on this stair step of gradually increasing light, and light is consciousness. But there will be the biggie, the big one, the one they say, the major kahuna, the one the angels called it, the moment we will look back on and say that is the moment that everything changed. So what will be that significant that around the entire globe, everyone will say that is the moment that everything changed. So it will be unmistakable, and it has not yet happened. And they say they've described it as rainbow starlight. When I've seen it, they've go, because when I channel, I don't retain the words as well as I retain the images. They give me sort of a visual. I see what they're saying, and it's just because I'm very much in my right brain. I have a hard time holding the words. But I saw it as, it was almost like, it was so bright, it was almost like there was a second sun in the sky, and there was these sparkle, these flashes, almost like imagine that you had a charged particle here and a charged particle here, and then something, all of a sudden they sizzle and there's an arc between them, and they go zzz, like that, and it's all over the place, like zzz, like all around, like it's crazy. So like rainbows, but like these little, that's what I saw when they were trying to show me, yeah, this is, it's going to be unmistakable.
Wow.
And
it sounds beautiful.
yeah, absolutely beautiful. I also think when they talk about rainbow starlight, I think about when we've seen some of the rainbow photos of the aurora borealis, amazing.
Yeah.
But it could be coming. They say it's a solar energy. So it is a lot of people are worried, is it a nuclear thing? No, absolutely not nuclear. It is a solar energy. Is it from our sun or another sun? It could be the star Betelgeuse that a lot of people have talked about, which is a star that supernovaed back in what would have been probably around our 1400s, but it's so far away that light from that supernova has been traveling towards us all this time, and it will finally get here anytime soon. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 2 years. That's hard to say, but it is on its way, and certainly that it could be Betelgeuse, but I don't know. The angels they haven't said specifically that, or they've said it's a solar energy. And it will be the moment. The critical thing is, and what the angels tend to focus on is, how will we feel? How will it change us? What should we do? They want us to be not to be fearful, to be ready for it. And they say the light that comes they said it'll affect everyone, and it will raise our consciousness up, like taking us up a staircase. But they say when we get to the top of the staircase, we will have the ability to access this new state of reality, but we always have free will. So imagine the light takes us up the staircase. When we get to the top, there's a doorway, and do we go through it or not? And it is not a one-time deal. It is that we have the remainder of our human lives to make that choice, and the choice whether we go through or not is made at the higher self level. But so our higher self already knows what we've chosen to do, and there will be some people that choose to stay in a 3D construct. And that is absolutely okay. There is no judgment in that. And it will be, if that's the case, it will be because they feel like their soul can grow more in a karmic construct, that they'll feel like they have more progress that can be made if they stay in a reality that has karma. And it is like karma it really forces you to see yourself. So some souls will choose that because it will help them grow, but then others will choose to move through the doorway and experience a brand new reality.
Yeah. And I think the concern a lot of people have is, what happens to my family members if they don't make that choice and I do? Does that mean that they're poof, they're out of my life? Do they just disappear? Or do we have to say goodbye to them?
Yeah, you're right. And a lot of people do worry about that. And the answer is no, that like I said, there will be a long period of time where we will be coexisting, where there will be people who have shifted to a higher vibration and people who have not. And think about that. Why are all the light workers here? Especially, why are there so many light workers here who have not yet started sharing their gifts? And why is that okay? And that is because once the flash of light comes, there will be those people who are kind of in the first wave who are ready to kind of step across and step into that higher vibration. And they will then turn around and help others across. And they will do that by sharing their gifts, by helping people heal. There will be many people. There'll be those people who are like, nope, I am not shifting in this lifetime. And they will be kind of in this group. And they will be the ones that they will not reincarnate on this earth after they pass. They will go to another place where they can continue the karmic lessons they've chosen. But there will be this big middle group that's like, yeah, I want to shift, help me. And there will be this huge increase in spirit, in the desire the pull to spirit. People will be looking for help like never before. And so that will be, they'll kind of be these three groups: those that are like not interested, those are like super interested and looking for help, and those that are kind of went through first. And there's like, again, no judgment whether you're first, second, or third. We are all going to end up in the same place in the end. It's just, what role are we going to play as we go through it? And if someone is in that middle group, it may be that they want to do as much learning in the karmic construct as they can before they move. So it's like I said, it's really important for someone not to feel like, oh, I'm not good because I'm not in the first, I have to be in the first wave. No, it could be that you're just a super ambitious soul that is planned a really hard life, that you're going to try to get as much, you're going to wring that life to get as much out of it as you can, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. I think that will bring a lot of people comfort, because that actually is a
Yeah.
question that has come up quite often when we talk about this event is, well, what's going to happen to my family? And it sounds like there's going to be a period of time where they have an opportunity to make a decision. And even if they don't make that decision, it's still okay, right? Like, that's their
Absolutely.
path,
Yeah.
that's their journey, and we have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's great information to share. And then when it
Yeah.
comes to the actual event itself, and I don't know, you can tell me if this is right or wrong because you have the direct connection, but I've heard that everything is going to come to a standstill, and that even airplanes will literally stop flying in the sky. And there will be, I believe, 3 days of darkness that follows this event. Am I on with what I'm sharing, or is that, do you have
So
a
as
different
much as
perspective?
I can interpret what they have told me, I would say yes, that they've told me that not to fear, that it's going to be like they've said that it will be an umbrella of peace, which is, and it's like we get cocooned for a period of time.
Hmm.
And within that cocoon, it is, and they said that it'll happen. So I think it'll be a thing like it will come. And you, if you're at the grocery store when it happens, don't worry. I think you still have time to go home. Like you can
Uh,
go home, and
you're not
like it's
stuck
almost
there for 3 days.
like yeah, like how long will it take for us to absorb the energies? I don't know. But they have
Yeah.
said there will come a time when this happens where all of a sudden our bodies will feel heavy, very heavy. And when that
Mm.
happens, we're meant to lay down. And they said that is the process of us separating from our karma, that the karma feels heavy in the body. And as we start to raise our frequency, we will feel it. Will be like, oh, you just feel like you weigh 1,000,000 pounds, which I can absolutely relate to, by the way. That when I first started channeling the angels, when they came in, it was like I put on a helmet that came down to about here, and it was like my head was being squozen, like I was at the bottom of the ocean. So it feels
Oh,
like
wow.
pressure. As you shift vibrations, it feels like pressure. And that's what we will feel, that pressure in the body as we start to separate from our karma. And so we're meant to just chill out. They're like, don't worry, the angels are going to carry us through it. You don't have to struggle or strive, or you don't have to do anything. Just lay there and just peace out, and they will help guide us through this cocoon phase. And so yeah, so I think it will be a thing where there's like a big pause, I guess. And it's that
Mhm.
part of it is vague because the angels don't have time. They experience their whole life
Mm.
experiences outside of time. They see all realities as now. But they have described it as this cocoon state. There's an umbrella of peace. So even if you come into it fearful, it's like you will chill out. Kids, the
Mm.
people you're worried about, if you have people you care for, they will have this umbrella of peace that will, like, all you got to do is focus on you. Don't worry about, are my dog's okay? Are my kids okay? It's like they're going to be under the umbrella of peace. Animals are going to go through their own process at the same time with a very different result, which is fascinating. But
Yeah.
yeah, so everyone's cared for. That is why the angels are here. So even if you're a caregiver, you don't have to worry about the people you take care of. Just have your own experience, focus on what you're going through. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very comforting to hear, because my 3D mind immediately goes to, are we going to need to eat food? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
are we going to be in darkness? Are people going to be running around in the streets crazy? Do I need to barricade myself in my home? Like, what do
Yeah.
I need to do to stay safe during this time? I think that's a natural
Yeah.
thought process that we all have.
There may be people who are freaking out during this process, that there may be
Mm.
people who are like the angels have said, all you have to do to reject this light is reject it. All you have to do is try to hang on to the way things have been. And if people
Mm.
are so, and this is an interesting thing that I put together. I find so often there are stories, whether they're biblical or different books of wisdom, that tell things in stories that explain exactly what we're going to be going through. And I think one of those, there's a story about a pillar of salt where there was some people that were leaving, and I'm sorry, I was not raised with any religious tradition, so my knowledge about these things is like this big. But I know there's a story where there's like people are leaving, whether it's Babylon or somewhere, and God tells them, and God is my word, so please use your own. God tells them, don't look back. Whatever you do, don't look back. And there's one woman, she turns around and she looks back, and then she turns to like a pillar of salt, and that's the story. Or something like that. Forgive me if I told it wrong. But the idea is that you take that concept, and that makes it really harsh. It makes it sound like it's really scary. But in the context of the flash of light, what the angels have said is that all we have to do is lean in. And what we don't want to be is turning around and saying, oh yeah, I want to come with you, but just a minute, before I go, I want to go back and I want to make sure the oven is turned off. And I want to make sure, I want to, like, what about, like, I had these plans where I was going to go to my daughter was going to go to prom next week, and I don't want to miss that. Can I keep prom? And can I keep this? Like, if we're hanging on, or what about my 401k, for turning around and worrying about trying to keep things the way they were, or what about my, whatever it is, that turns our back to the light. So we have to be in a place where we just release and don't turn around. And it's not that we're going to turn into a pillar of salt, but it makes it so that we can't receive it's free will. It comes back to free will always. And that free will has to be expressed as like, I am in the state of allowing. I am open, I'm allowing, and we cannot predict what it's going to be, because it does not exist yet. The new reality will come from inside of us. So we have to be in a state of complete acceptance, knowing that we will create what's inside of us once again. So it will be familiar, but it doesn't exist yet. So we have to just release and allow and let things be, and let go of everything we're attached to. So even if you are in the middle of, say you're in grad school and you've been working on this for like years, and you're like, I am not leaving without that degree. They're like, you got to release and allow. And that doesn't mean you won't get it. It just means you can't be attached to it. You have to be willing to walk away from it. And that's the key.
I think honestly, out of everything we've just talked about, that should be the primary message more than anything, because I don't know if many people have heard this before. And that's a decision to make. That's a big decision to make right there. And
I totally agree. And they say it over and over and over again: release, allow, release, allow. It is, and this has been one of the major lessons of my entire life. So one of the crazy things about my life is, when I was in my 20s, I was sharing a house with a bunch of other girls. It was back when I first started at Microsoft. And my boss, we got a morale booster. And she gave everyone an astrology session. I was like, that's awesome. So I had mine. And the woman asked me, she said, well, I hope you don't own the house you're living in. I was, no, we're renting. And she says, good, because you're not going to be there very long. As a matter of fact, you are going to move and move and move and move throughout your whole life. And she could not have been more right. I have moved pretty much every 2 years, whether I wanted to or not. Something conspired. It's so funny. This past year was the 1 year I didn't move. And like, it's been 2 years, I've been in the same house. And in that 1 year I didn't move, every other member of my family and extended family moved, and I had to help them all move. So I probably moved 10 people in the year, and heavily involved in the 1 year. So if I don't move, watch out, everybody's moving. But
you have some major moving karma.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it is in my chart big time, but the point of it, like, why, why did I have that configuration coming in? And and the other piece of it is that most of the time I would remodel the house. I would do a bunch of projects, bunch of work, make it just how I wanted it. And then something would happen where I would have to move. And so I would have to create and let go, create and let go, over and over. And several of these homes were like my dream home. I thought it was my home forever. I'm never moving. And then you got to move, and this happened over and over again. And it was teaching me release, allow, release, allow. It was teaching me you create and you let go. And so this has been the practice of my whole life. And I think it is interesting now that this is one of the primary messages of the angels and this is going to be a big part about how we create in the new reality. It's going to be the structure of the new reality is going to be, rather than the structure of this reality has been about understanding ourselves in separation. We've been in the process of understanding us as opposed to other things. Where do I end and where does something else begin? And creating increasing separation in the process of trying to understand ourselves. In the new reality, we are understanding ourselves as manifestors, as creators, in connection with all things and the earth.
In relation to the new earth and what we're going to experience, what have the angels shared with you about our financial system? Because there's a lot of speculation right now around what that's going to look like. We know
Yeah.
there's some sort of transformation on the horizon. Bitcoin is a very popular, cryptocurrency is very popular right now. But will we use currency, a monetary system as we move forward, or will we move into more of the old school bartering systems that they had in ancient times? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
great
that?
question. I can tell you what they've told me, which is, and I always have to be so careful to say it exactly as they say it, because if I ever get into interpretation, it's so easy to get it wrong. But they have said that there will be that the banking that there would be the banks would close, is what they say. Banks would close, and they have asked people to have on hand cash on hand, not in terms of like not enough to, like, you don't worry about paying your rent or whatever. Like if the banks are closed, no one's going to expect you to pay your rent. But what you want
Mhm.
is small bills. You want fives, tens, ones, or whatever, to buy gas, to buy groceries. But they have said that the banks would close, so you want to have some cash on hand. And they recently, so anyways, as part of this, they've said that there would be that there would be those in charge who would be trying to save, that like all the institutions would be extremely, like right on a thin edge because of debt. They said specifically it would be debt, and that they would be in the process of collapsing, that the banks would close in the attempt to try to keep them from collapsing. There may be some uh, communication that comes out about hackers, that there's hackers that hack the banks, whether that is actually hackers or whether that is closing the banks in order to try to preserve the institutions. That's up for debate. But that may be part of what we are told, or how this comes out. And then in the process of all that, it could be that there is a conversion to and the angels had specifically told me that there will be a digital currency that is agreed upon by everyone. And the angels, actually, I know there's a lot of people who have misgivings about the privacy issues of digital currencies and the control issues of digital currencies. And the angels, that when they told me that, it was not a message that I was necessarily meant to share. It was meant for me. And they told me that when it came out, that I should absolutely move to it, because they said it will level the playing field between countries. It would make it easy for me to work with people. Like right now, there's such a huge disparity between the value of the US dollar and so many other currencies that it's impossible for people to work with me. And so with this change, that will change, and it will make it easier for us to work between countries. So major financial. So do we get to a place where we don't need? I think that as we progress through the shift in consciousness, then I think we will get to a place where money will stop making sense. But I don't know how
Yeah.
long that will take. In the
Yeah, I
interim, I
think
think we will move to a digital currency.
Yeah, money just seems to be so complex, the financial system that we've built, and it's so archaic to me. I think, it doesn't make sense that we have so many different currencies across the globe, like you were just mentioning, as far as needing
Yeah.
to, one from one country to the next, needing to pay for something. So it just seems to make sense that it would go to a digital currency.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see that on the horizon. And then I know the other big topic that people always wonder about as well is the medical industry. And, we recently had a doctor on as a guest who shared, about the misguided advice that the medical industry offers. And as she claims, it's hijacked for profit. And,
Mhm.
I have to tend to agree with that. What can you share with us about how that industry will be managed? How the health and wellness industry will look as we move into this new era?
Gosh, I don't know in the interim. I don't know what's going to happen in the short term. I do know in the long, like I know that when we go through the shift in consciousness, those who separate from their karma, their bodies will heal themselves. Anything that's karmic, any karmic diseases, karmic injuries, that the body will renew itself, not instantly, but that in the same way that you turn over cells. So, for example, like you get new skin like every 14 days or something like that. Your liver is
Mhm.
renewed. I don't know how long it takes for you to have a whole new liver, but basically the body is constantly regenerating itself. So, when we go through this shift, as we separate from our karma, much of what we deal with in terms of health is karmic. There are things that we then created inside of our own selves because of the ways that we judge ourselves or have judged ourselves or repress ourselves. So once we separate from that, then the body has the opportunity to move into its own perfect expression. And so that will be a thing where we kind of slough off the layers of what was wounding and what was, and they said that that doesn't mean that we can't ever be injured. For example, you could stumble and break a leg, and that could be not a karmic thing. It's just you happen to try breakdancing when you're too old to breakdance, like whatever it is, and you
You're
could
just
hurt
clumsy.
yourself. Yeah, you could be clumsy. And so those things can happen. So there will still be the healing arts when we get to the other side, that there will be people who are healers who are and the whole practice is designed to help people heal from things like that, from the ways that people might injure themselves.
Well, that's good
But
to
in the
hear.
interim, like, how do we get there? Like, what happens in the karmic world before everyone shifts to the new reality? I don't know. And they haven't actually talked about that yet. Yeah.
Timing is everything. Maybe it'll be the next channel session that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, would you mind bringing in the divine energy for us to
Yeah.
ask some questions?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Wonderful.
Let's do it. All
Thank
right. So
you.
do you mind if we go through a little grounding together first?
Absolutely. Sure.
All right. So go ahead, close your eyes and drop down from your tailbone a nice thick root that goes down through the floor and down into the ground. And follow it down with your mind as it grows and extends, growing deeper and deeper into the earth, all the way down to the very, very center of the earth. And when it reaches that center point, feel the root sprout and anchor itself in. And as it does, notice that the root is pulling gently and becoming taut. And feel as that tautness moves all the way up the root. And then all the way up your spine, anchoring you securely to the earth. I'd like to ask the angels to please help me to be a clear channel of healing and information for our highest and best good. And please help us to receive this healing and information. Thank you. Blessings, we are within. We can begin speaking on the topics of your concern. We wish to align you now with our own vibration to draw you into the safe harbor, the safekeeping of our own hearts, to allow you to resonate more deeply with who we are. We reach out upon the shade of your own reflection and place our arm around you now. Allow yourself, if you will, to succumb to the sensation of our feathers near your ear. We are soft, we are easy, we are grace. Allow yourself to come into our alignment, into the heartbeat that we share. Become one thing, one thought, one vibration, one heart sharing. We are in union. We trust as you trust us. You are opening. We are sharing. We are vibrations come alive together. And we reunite what once was shared, the knowledge of ourselves in kinship, in one-ship with all things. We become ourselves together again. Do you have questions for us?
I do. Thank you so much for being here with us. May I ask, who are we communicating with today?
We thank you. We are a collective consciousness, much like yourselves, but not as you are. For we are held in the umbrella of all that belongs to the universal mind. We are the angelic essence that pervades all things. The angelic essence has within itself the belongingness to the divine heart, the divine mind. We are the instrumentation of presence. We have within us the shared awareness of many forms and times of becoming and being. And each of these are known to yourselves as personalities, as identities which you can call upon. And all that is presence among us shall participate in the assembling of each and every presence that you call upon. We are in the instrumentation of your own guardianship. We are the causeway through which you are creating. We are the envelopment within which your heart is held. The gravity pools around us. We are the shade. We are the light. We are in all things. Do you understand us?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
You are
We were
welcome.
just discussing we were discussing with Anne the coming solar flash. What will life be like for us after this event?
The elegance of this occurrence shall not be lost to yourselves. It shall be encountered readily, and the experience shall be one of upliftment, of the greatest regard that you can categorize within the limitations of your own perception. You shall perceive it not once, but for all time in existence that continues on, that continues forward from now. It shall not leave. It shall not leave where you are. You shall be brought forward into a new way of becoming. It shall register within your heart space, within the space of your own disquiet, where you are currently held. There is an expression of your soul which has come into presence within this incarnation. This self, this soul, has more than one expression it can hold. You are containing these two aspects of you at once. This is not typical. This is not how it has been done before. You are unique in this regard. You are holding within this encounter of life the perspective you share amongst yourselves of what it is to live within this karmic construction with your soul's expression illuminated at this degree of facility of being. And within your heart, there resides a second, a counterpart, and also is, who is yourself, who shall rise into presence upon the illumination's arrival. It shall come as if birthed from within, and you shall feel yourself all at once rising to herald a greater perspective of all that is. It shall be as if you suddenly perceive things with more aliveness, as if the encounter of this world is changing beneath you, that you are as you always have been. You have your memories within you. Your personality does not change. You are self. You are soul. You are who you are. And yet, your perspective will change. Your conception of reality shall shift. Your readiness to experience a new reality is born from within you. Do you understand us?
Yes, thank you. And how will our food distribution and manufacturing be affected following this event?
These experiencings you shall be having shall cause constriction. Constriction shall be felt in all ways of presence. There shall not be the easy come and go of shipping. This shall become deregulated and sporadic, and there shall not be the easy conveyance of goods that you have been used to. It shall become a period within which there shall be what you need, but not everything. It shall not contain the ease and facility within which you could obtain things. The new times that are on the horizon, just short, they are showing you how you can supply your needs, but locally, not from far away. There cannot be the easy come and go of shipping. This shall be an industry which is no longer. It shall not continue. It cannot. In these times that are forming around you, all things which are relied upon by boat cannot continue for some time. There shall be many earthquakes that are unsettling, ripping apart certain through lanes, byways, thoroughfares, a great ripping of the earth herself. Thus, you shall not have the ease of transport that once was felt here. You may and shall have what you need. You need only feel within your own heart that all will be well. Trust what is. Trust what is. Should you require some things that are precious, that are meaningful, that you will miss, you can acquire these now. Know that in the times that come, not all things will be the same. Some things will continue as they are, not all things. And this will create for yourselves a need to reframe expectations, what you are expecting. But within what is held as reality, there shall be what is required, what you need. And you may have faith in your own ability to create a world within which you thrive, even during times of chaos. Do you understand us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Once a soul returns to one after many incarnations, what is the next step of evolution for the soul from there?
We enjoy this questioning very much. We say that once you have experienced yourself in full, in all ways of incarnated bliss, you shall come to terms with what you've known, what you've held, what you've become. And these shall be integrated into self, into soul, who comes once more into the Creator's heart and becomes itself anew to explore a higher vibration, a newer level of expression, but in the same way of regarding yourself, in a new way of juxtaposition. How shall I encounter what I am in this new world? A new question you are asking, a new understanding you shall be having, but in compliance with a frequency which has been earned through the context of the greater definition of your own understanding of who you are. You become more full, a greater fruition of your own soul. Do you understand us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And how and when will we experience the direct connection of off planet beings?
These are coming soon. They are here now. They are existing within the realm of Earth and shall be manifest to your own vision, but not until your own rising, not until your frequency matches their own. There are also those beings who shall arrive from other constellations, and these are coming soon and shall herald the time of peace as their time of destination to show themselves. Peace on earth shall arrive very soon.
That's wonderful. We need that. And as my final question, there has been speculation that planet Earth is much larger in size than what we have been led to believe, and that certain truths are not being exposed to us. Is this true, and when will we learn the truth?
The cosmos you are encountering has been defined by the consciousness of humanity. What you share is truth. And this truth is a vibration which emanates from within the collective harmonious understanding of what is. As you are experiencing yourself in the newness of a new earth, the vibration that you share shall change enormously. And what is defined as this planet shall come to terms with itself in new ways, and your consciousness shall expand exponentially because of it. Thus, your current comprehensive understanding of what is Earth and what can be explored here has been justified and is true from the comprehension of the human. The new Earth shall be comprehended differently. Do you understand us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for blessing us with your energy today. It has truly been enlightening, and we appreciate you very much. So thank you.
We thank you very much. We wish you blessings, 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 and goodbye.
Hello
Hi.
there.
Felt like you asked some really good questions. I'm trying to remember what
I
I give me a reminder. What did you talk about? There was I know you asked some
yeah,
stuff that was unusual and cool.
I tried to vary it a little bit because I know a lot of times people kind of tend to ask the same questions. So
Yeah.
the last one was about Earth and the size of Earth, because
Yeah.
recently I've been, it's been proposed to me that Earth is actually not the size that we have been led to believe it is. And whether it's actually larger in size, or, if we've been being really lied to about what Earth is. So it was a very interesting response. And it sounds like there's things that we need to learn still as we progress forward in this process. So the truths
Yeah.
are not officially out yet in full, but I don't think we're quite ready to hear or comprehend what the truths are just yet.
It was interesting. So I can tell you what I saw when they were talking about that. I don't
Yeah.
know what their words were, but I can tell you the vision I got was that that what we think of as being solid is not all that solid, and that we're living in a co-created reality. So they were showing me that the earth as it is emanating from our hearts, right, from our bodies, and that we have this
Mhm.
shared construct that is, and then earth herself is a being, like that there is a being that
Yeah.
is earth. So we are sharing this. So it's almost a little bit like, imagine you have an identity and you're saying, okay, I am a punk rocker or whatever, and and that's your identity, and you're gonna have those clothes, and you're gonna have that, and that's gonna be your truth. And then you catch up with yourself, 30 years later, and you're completely changed. So
Right.
it's this idea that they were showing me that there is a degree of dynamism to what is the earth and what our experience it is, because we are co-creating it, and nothing is as solid as it seems. So it's kind of like matter
Mm.
is being held together based on an
Wow.
agreed upon concept of what is. So, but it
Yeah.
starts with the earth, like the earth was conscious and we were kind of born from the earth, and so it kind of starts
Mhm.
with her. But they also
Right.
showed that in the new reality there is the potential where that could look much different. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it is.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like things are gonna be changing for us as we continue down this path, and we just need to be open to what that looks like
Yeah,
as we move
yeah,
on.
open,
Yeah.
right? Release and allow.
There you go. There's a theme right there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I asked also about the food distribution and manufacturing because, and I've kind of gotten this information from different sources, but when this event takes place, and I think you mentioned it even earlier as well, that a lot of the ways of transport will actually shut down. So there's actually, there won't be cargo ships really bringing in loads of product the way that we have now. And it's interesting because I actually had this conversation with someone else, and she was saying we really need to hold on to our clothes, because if
Mm.
manufacturing stops or it's hard for us to get clothing, especially high quality clothing, don't just give something away readily the way we normally do these days. We need to really hold on to those things because we might have these clothes for a long time.
It
And
is
I didn't
crazy
think
to
about
think
that.
about. Like,
Yeah,
I think it's tricky when we talk about these things, because then the first place we go is like, oh my gosh, I better get what I need now. But then what the
right.
angels talk about, which I think is so, because it's easy to go there, but it's not a good feeling. And that is
Yeah.
critical, is to recognize that the feeling of, oh, I'm not going to have enough, is a bad feeling. And
Mhm.
so they say anything that's a bad feeling is not the right way to go. So they want us to instead think about, like, what would you do that would, so for example, if you're worried about that, why not learn to sew? Why not learn
Right.
to like do things that you could then end up being of value, where you can help people if they need to alter
Mhm.
things or repair things. And that's a beautiful thing anyways. Like, rather than buying a new toaster,
Absolutely.
can you repair your existing toaster?
Right.
So stuff like that is the thing that always brings me peace when I hear them talk about, like, yeah, it's going to be like a little tight for a while. They talk about that there will be rationing. So it's not that there won't
Mm.
be anything, it's just that there won't be everything. It's that there will be
Right.
less, and there will be enough, but it just won't be like now, where you go down the grocery store and there's like a whole aisle of cereal. It'll be like,
Sure.
you'll have what you need. It might be spam,
Right.
but it'll be something.
Right, right. Or
And
you can only buy one of something instead of,
yes.
sometimes people load up their cart with, 10
Yeah.
of the same thing, and it's like, "No, you only
Yeah.
get to buy one because you need to leave enough for everyone else."
Right, that's
Yeah,
exactly right. But how much do we really need? I mean, how much food do we throw
right.
away right now? And so the
Oh,
idea
yeah.
is to not worry about it, to trust that like I said, that yeah, the things might be rationed, but maybe we change our lifestyle for a while, but we will have what
Mhm.
we need. And there will be some challenging things that happen, but not everything happens everywhere. Just like right now, there's war happening in lots of places around the world, but it's not where I live or not where you live or not where anybody
Right,
who's listening to this, it's not happening in your
right,
backyard at the
right.
moment. So not everything
Mm,
happens everywhere. So the idea is to not be in fear and to just
right,
trust that everything, as long as you're holding that vibration of trusting, hey, if you're okay right now, why wouldn't you continue to be okay? It might be different, but we
right.
release and allow and trust that if we're not going to be able to get our favorite brand of cereal, we will find
Mhm.
something else that's also going to be good. And it may be even better. So we
Right.
start looking for local sources of things. We start learning to eat more fresh fruit. We start learning, whatever that we do, that we learn to
Yeah.
adapt and just be in the flow of the experience. And
Mhm.
but yeah, there will be a change in the world for sure as we go through this process. But it's okay. Change doesn't have to be scary.
Right, exactly, and I think that's the main key is just to stay in love and try to stay out of fear as much as you
Yes,
can through this
totally.
process, right? And just trust and know that this is going to be okay. You will be okay no matter what happens.
Yeah,
Everything will just be perfectly fine, exactly the way it's supposed to be. So,
yeah.
well, Anne, this is amazing, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today, and I know you have a website, you've got a YouTube channel, and you offer many services. Is there anything special that you want to talk about? Any events coming up that you have that you'd like to share with anybody?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, so
Of
my
course.
website is my name and my what YouTube is my name is Ann Tucker with an Ann with an E. And I would love to let people know I have a new book that's come out, which is on Amazon, which is it's called What's Coming Next. This is what the book cover looks like. So that will give you the full rundown on everything the angels have said about the flash of light and everything else that's coming with the shift in consciousness. So yeah, so it's very exciting to have that book out now.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations with that. That's
Thank
amazing. We'll
you.
definitely
Thanks.
include links for everything in the description of the video for you so people
Thank
know
you
where to go to
very much.
find you. Absolutely. And just as we wrap up, is there any final message you'd like to leave with anyone listening today?
Oh my gosh. I think the biggest thing I think is the idea of trust. That trust, if I think it's a much larger concept that's going to become increasingly important as we're trying to move into oneness. It gets to that idea we were talking about earlier in our conversation about if about privacy and how much we are going to if we think about when we move into unity, if we move into unity consciousness, we have to get into a space where we trust ourselves, where we love ourselves so that we are willing to be seen fully by other people. So it's trust of ourselves and trust of others. And it is something I think it's a conversation I think we are just beginning, but it is, I think, a critical piece of moving into the next state of awareness that we're trying to move into oneness with one another. And we can't be there if we are like, okay, you can see this part of me, but none of this. This is secret. Like
Right.
it's gonna be all of it, right? We got to get to a place where we trust one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing your wisdom today. You've shared so much, and I was trying to cram as much as I could in there, but I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for
You
all the
too.
knowledge that you shared with us.
Thank you. It's been super fun. I loved it.